me, Lonmin excited me about going there, particularly because I've always known their resources, their assets, their mines, the people themselves, and actually just the sense of how resilient that organization is and the challenges and complexities of what they had gone through and how they continued and how, as the world looked and thought, what cold-bloodedness. All these Lonmin employees, managers, you name it, were as much victims of what happened as of all of us who were watching and seeing that whole story happening, unfolding. It was in that week that changed our lives, that 10 people had died by the morning of 16th of August at the hands of their fellow employees. You know how dreadful that is? Imagine working with the same guy again underground tomorrow. And then the 34 on the 16th, starting at 4:30 in August. Lonmin had gone through 2 rights issues by then. Or they raised a second rights issue immediately after the strike because they had run out of money. And we'll talk about all those economics just now. The communities were up in arms, and we all know today's world, everybody wants something. But the one thing I know, I've never known anything for free that is worth it. I haven't. So as much as I'm very thankful of the Zimbabwean government sending me to university and paying for me, somebody has to pay. Otherwise, it's not worth it. But access is crucial. And for us, we had 50% grant, 50% bursary. So you had to pay it back when you start working. And everybody could have that. And every term you got a payout of about $1,000. Those were proper Zim dollars. And that's how we went to university. But it wasn't free. Somebody was paying for it. I was fortunate to get a scholarship with Anglo-American, and then I was sponsored by Anglo-American all my life through, got even better pay, better payouts, so it was wonderful. But I think the reality of the story is something for free is not worth it. And people need to know that it must be worth it. You can't just be entitled to it. So we need to find access to it. So the impact for Lonmin, given all the challenges we've gone through, the sense for me was, if there are human beings at that Lonmin, we will find each other. If there are human beings who run that union, we will find each other. If there are human beings that are community leaders, we will find each other. If there are indeed human beings as customers, suppliers, or government, we will find each other. And I think for me, it's that belief that said, as sad and tragic as Marikana was, it also indeed can be a catalyst for positive change. Almost in line with the metal we mine. It is a catalyst for a better world. And therefore, the 32,000 employees we have about 160,000 dependents. Double that number for all the linkages and industries and SMMEs around us and procurement service providers. It's about 320 to 400,000 people who depend on Lonmin. So it starts telling you a story that this is an asset worth serving. And this is an asset worth building. And if you think of the attractiveness of this metal and how it can help us with reducing emissions controls in the world, particularly from internal combustion engines, we can't do without it. The world has tried to replace it, to find better chemicals, to find synthetics. But you cannot find a metal that can continue to be itself and operate at 1,600 degrees Celsius and still do it. Therefore, it is worth, because the world is great for us. So we dig it here, and we dig it underground for the world. And those are employees and their homes, and everybody deserves a part of it. But there are complexities with these things, because we have a migrant workforce that everybody knows. It's a challenge. And one could consider, do we stop the migrant workforce? What would happen to Eastern Cape if we did that? Do we just employ locals so that they have the jobs? Do we just employ locals so that they've got proper houses, or do we build houses for the migrant workers? All these things are real complexities that leadership need to find answers to. Do we give employees a salary, or what do we need to do? What salary do we give them so that we can afford to fix some of the ills that we have got? I think the bottom line for me is, without a profitable business, we cannot fix anything. Without a profitable business, you have no surplus to solve the ills, and we'll perish at our own by ignoring those ills. So it is crucial, and I do not shy away from the fact that as businesses, we need to make money, and they need to be profitable, because without those profits, we can't solve the social challenges we have got. As I arrived at Lonmin, I joined Lonmin a year after Marikana, and really for me, I reflected on what this means and what I should do when I get there. And I thought, the reality is I had to say sorry. I had to pay my condolences to the widows, to the relatives, and indeed to the colleagues of mine who were still working at Lonmin, having gone through the challenges they went through. And Mandela puts it so well. And he said, as I walked out of the door towards the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be in prison. So as I walked into Lonmin, straight into my office, lovely corner office, I felt, if actually I don't say sorry and condolences and pay my condolences to the widows and the relatives and the colleagues, I would possibly live with that forever. So within my third week at Lonmin, I traveled to the Eastern Cape to visit all the widows to make sure we could find ways and talk and give our condolences and say sorry. But in particular, I really thought we can't bring back their spouses, but what we could do is make sure that all their kids are back to school. So Lonmin today pays for all the 143 kids of our 44 slain miners. They're all in school. 3 months ago, I visited them again with Joseph Matunjwa, the president of AMCU, together to really show that we care and that the relationship is helpful and that we have developed into a different and a new normal of how we engage. And the first kid now, Magara Yawa, has just graduated with a BSc in agriculture at Fort Hare and is now doing his master's, paid for by Lonmin. We offered all the widows jobs, and we said, if you can't come, we're happy to offer the job to any of your family members, and most of them opted to get those jobs. So the education trust we created for the kids continues to nurture them, because we want them to be a new normal in South Africa.